This conversation we're having in this room today is very important. It impacts on all of us. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'd just like to start with something that is very key to everybody seated in this room: power. I believe that every Nigerian, one of the wishes, if you were to make a wish, if you had a magic wand and you say, what is it that you need most? Everybody wants 24 hours of supply. And data says that 90 million people are without energy supply. How is Total Energy? One of the reasons why you're here is because your organization is at the forefront of ensuring that the environment is safe and ensuring energy access. How is Total Energy redefining energy access through solarizing service stations across Niger Delta?
Okay, thank you so much. For Total Energies, the first thing you need to know is that since 2022, we changed our name from Total to Total Energies. And it was an intentional act. It was a message that we sent across the globe to show that we are in the business to provide sustainable energy with less emissions. So we positioned ourselves to provide all the types of energy that is required in the energy mix that will help us to arrive at net zero. So aside the conventional fossil energy that is provided, we also provide the solar powered energy from wind, energy from other sources like hydrogen and some other ones like that we are still working on. Like somebody mentioned the CCS here today. You know, we also in that space. But coming specifically for our downstream operations, where you asked the question about our service stations, we have a global objective of solarizing 5,000 service stations. And this will represent about 200 megawatts of clean electricity. And this will lead to the removal of about 100 kilotons of CO2 from the planet on an annual basis. In Nigeria, so far, as at the end of 2024, we had solarized more than 250 service stations. And I will tell you that even some of our stations are off the grid today. They can, provide their own power from the solar. So this 250 represents about 50% of the service stations we have. So we still have about another 250 plus to do that. So that is clean energy, clean electricity that we're providing, and the removing associated CO2 that would have been otherwise released if we didn't use clean energy. Then in our service stations today also, if you go, every of our service stations, you will have access to solar lamps, solar home kits. We provide even to students. Like last year, 2024, we provided free of charge or donated 1,800 solar lamps free of charge to students, especially those in the SS3, so that they can use them in our communities where there are no light, or they use kerosene lantern. So in that way, we are trying to substitute use of fossil fuel, and they're trying to introduce, clean electricity. So we are also providing solar electrification to our communities wherever we operate. So there are a lot of things we are doing to provide clean electrons, or what we call green electricity, within Nigeria, particularly through our downstream operations.
Thank you very much. One of the things that TEDx Port Harcourt is doing is to ensure that everybody is brought to the room. Earlier on, Professor Magnus had mentioned moving from shareholding to stakeholding. And that means that everyone in this room has a stake in our environment, making it clean. And there's this buzz about carbon credits. You know, it's out there. People use the word carbon credits, zero emissions, and all of that. In your capacity or as an organization, how have you been able to bring practices that will reduce carbon credits or carbon emissions? What are you doing about it? Because that's one of the talks that we are having in this room today is how do we reduce that?
Maybe before I answer the question more deeply, I would just say that we were the first 3 years ago to receive carbon credits of several millions of euros for the effort we put on our Ofon 2 project. Ofon 2 project was a project where we valorized the gas that was being flared, more than 1 million standard cubic meter of gas a day, and we converted that to gas exports, into LNG, and for that we received carbon credit, and up to today we still benefit from that carbon credit, and we're sharing it with that revenue with NNPC, who is our partner. So in that, I think we are the foremost to have entered into that. But talking about emissions generally, we know that energy is important. All of us here use energy. In this room, we're using energy. What I'm using to talk, this microphone is powered by energy. And of course, we know that today, the most predominant form of energy we use today is coming from fossil fuels. Okay, we are advocates of the energy mix that will help us attain net zero. You don't attain it in one day. So, but today, the fossil fuel production, what are we doing to combat the emissions that are associated with it? There are several axes. We know that one of the highest contributor to emissions in fossil fuel production is gas flaring. In Nigeria today, there's a lot of places where gas is flared, but I will say that for Total Energies, last year we celebrated the end of routine flaring in our operations. So we are the first IOC to attain that goal, to stop routine flaring from any of our facilities. Now we're going further. There's what they call safety flaring. Safety flaring is that little flare that you will see that helps to prevent the ingress of air that can lift an explosive atmosphere in your installation. So they call it pilot gas or safety flare. So now we are designing what we call closed flare, so that that pilot flare will no longer be there. You substitute it with nitrogen, if at all you need to do that, and then you recover that gas also and export it. So we're doing what we call closed flare systems now. And then secondly, the next axis is methane emissions. Methane, the main challenge about methane is that it's difficult to dictate and it's difficult to measure. So you cannot control what you cannot measure. So what we've done, first of all, we innovated a drone. It's called Ozia, and I think it's an innovation in the industry. We have brought it into Nigeria. We are using it on all our installations to check and quantify and detect wherever there is methane, and we tackle it immediately. We have also given it to some of our partners, to NLNG, to NNPC, to help. So it's something we're also providing to the people in the society to say, you need to be able to use it to dictate wherever you have methane emission. And the one thing with methane is that, we have professors in the room. They know that it contributes many times more to to the ozone layer depletion compared to CO2. So it's quite, so if you tackle methane, for one molecule of methane you tackle, you might be actually tackling, several 50, maybe I can actually say, depending on how you quantify it, it can be up to 50 to 80 times CO2, equivalent CO2 that you're tackling. So we measure, and then there's also what we call permanent meter monitoring. So we're installing permanent methane monitors on all our installations. There are thousands of them to make sure that you are identifying methane as they come and you are tackling them. And then there's also another aspect of emission, which is the liquid fuel. Liquid fuel, a lot of us are guilty of it. Yeah, that's either by petrol or diesel, mainly diesel for industrial purposes. So what we've done is that there is nowhere today we use diesel on a routine basis. Even for our rig, I'll talk about that probably later. For our routine electricity needs in the offices, in our residences, we have installed gas turbines plus solar systems. So it's a hybrid system. So we use gas turbine generator and complemented by solar panels that we've installed on several roofs, both in our offices and in our accommodation areas. So in this way, you also take away a lot of carbon. I would say that in our operations, in our JV asset today, we have reduced by more than 40% carbon emissions compared to 2020. So it's a permanent battle for us. It's an intentional effort, and it's something we're very deliberate about. And one at a time, we are reducing the carbon emission that is associated with our operations.
I'm glad to hear that, Dr. Briggs. I'm sure you'll be glad to hear that because some of the statistics you gave was quite scary. So I'm happy that Total is looking towards all of this, and I'm glad we're having these conversations. So while you were working, and I'm sure if you looked to the people in the room, you will see that there are like 70% of youth in this room. What is the plan for the green economy? What is the plan for the youth of Niger Delta, given your organization? What have you been doing, or what are you doing currently to ensure that the youth, the people in this room, that they live here knowing that there is hope for green economy going forward?
Okay, so for talking about green economy, I think the most important aspect of green economy is knowledge, creating the capacity, creating the, bringing the innovations around it. And the young people represent that set of people that will bring it. So developing their human capacity is a very important investment towards that. And for us, talking about climate change, talking about the net zero, we have been deliberate about what we call sustainability levers. So there's something we call 5 levers of sustainable change. And in that sustainability conversation, people, the human capital, is a very strong pillar of it. So we have several programs to develop the human capital in this area. I would say that we are the only ones that have a higher institution in Nigeria where we train graduates for the energy sector. There's an Institute of Petroleum and Energy Sector, Energy Studies in Uniport. This institute is done in partnership with Institute of Petroleum Studies in France. So this center has been there for about 20 years. But in the last 3 years, we rebranded it. We changed the curriculum to now extend it into energy studies. Now there is a study of renewable energies. There's a study of green technology and innovation. And I would say that this school produces people with MSc and people with PGD. And I would say today we can be proud that we've produced more than 700 graduates, both for the MSc and the PGD track. And most of them are fully deployed in the industry, providing, I would say, the needed knowledge, the needed innovation that would take us to where we want to get to. And then in terms of teachers, because also when you talk about young people, they are being taught by teachers. So we have a program that we call MIT Empowering the Teachers Program with the US, Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US. So far, we've taken 100 professors to that place, for this program, Empowering Teachers Fellowship. And they go, they prepare them, they empower them, and they come back to empower these students. Apart from that, there are also what we call, for young people, we have what we call Startup program. This is to encourage innovation and young people who have ideas, startup ideas. And most of the people that have won it in the last couple of years are in renewable energy, circular economy, agriculture, and all of those kind of areas. So we also have other forms of scholarship, local scholarship, both from secondary school up to master's degree, international foreign scholarship for certain students and certain areas, particularly those from our host communities. So there are a lot of all these empowerment initiatives that are available, both for those from our host communities and those also not from our host communities. And all of these are all geared towards empowering them. And maybe before I leave this, we have also what we call internship processes. So we have a young graduate program that we take in young graduates for 1 year. They go through our process and they get trained and they're recruited in the process. We also arrange excursions or short-term assignments for them to our installations so that they can also learn. So there are a lot of various initiatives like this.
Thank you very much. Just to ask, on behalf of you that you're sitting there and you're wondering, how can I ask this question? How do they access this in your website? Where do they go to? Because we need to be talking and be doing at the same time.
If you go to totalenergies.com/ng, you will see it, or .ng. You would access all the information there. You will see Total Energies downstream, Total Energies upstream, and you will see opportunities. Some of them are seasonal. When they come, you access them. If you don't see what you want, just send a mail to the webmaster. You will see an email there, and you ask the question, and they'll respond to you and direct you to the right place.
Thank you very much, sir. Speaking of, we're told that to manage the environment, everybody has shared responsibility. Sometimes that's why they tell you to separate your waste when you're at home. How about the offices? How about the operational sites? What are you doing to ensure that you're also contributing, aside what you have mentioned? In the offices, are there things that you're doing to ensure that even when people come to work, they are aligning to keeping the environment safe?
When it comes to the environmental matters, I think the first point, the departure point to tackle it is from the the knowledge side. Making sure that everyone is aware of his responsibilities and they are meant to do that. And as an organization, one thing we do is that we have what we call an environmental management system. And that system is what enshrines everything that everybody's supposed to do. And of course, today we know that ISO 14001 is an global environmental management system that everyone that really means it should subscribe to. So for us, all our sites for the last 10 years, both offices, accommodation, wherever we are, we have this certification, and is renewed every year. And we have them, permanently in place. We have about 12 of them, and we always make sure that they are in place. So that's the systematic aspect of it. And then, of course, we have a lever that we call one of our 5 levers of sustainable change. We call it environment. So it's something that is embedded within everyone, within the minds, the hearts and minds of everyone that works with us. And everyone is mandated to undergo a training that will make you certified to show that you have all the knowledge you need in this area. That's the second aspect. And then there is what we call targets. We have set several targets regarding emissions to the environment, regarding major environmental events, regarding flaring, as I had said before. So we have several targets, and every year we try to make sure that we improve on those targets. So today we know that we have 0 targets on environmental emissions to the major environmental events or discharges to the environment that are unplanned. So all of these are things that we do to make sure that on a systematic basis, the environment is taken into account in what we do. And then if you talk about waste management specifically, of course, talking about waste segregation, that's already, I think that's already an old thing. Now we have gone past that. We are now gone into recycling of waste. That's the circular economy that we're talking about. And I would cite and I would just say something that is very practical. Since 2022, we inaugurated and started a plastic recycling plant. We are not in the plastic business here in Nigeria. We're just into upstream oil and gas. But we wanted to demonstrate that it's possible. We built it at Elelewon. Some of you are welcome to come for a excursion on it. This is a project we executed together, partnered with the United Nations UNITA, is at Elelewon. And since that time, we have processed, we have removed more than 1,000 tons of plastics from the environment. And we have converted these to polypropylene pellets, and we have a lot of people employed there, a lot of them women and young people that are working there from that community at Elelewon. This is a very practical way of demonstrating environmental stewardship and the waste management. Also, at our facility at OML 58, we have built a compost plant that all the food waste we generate, we take them there and we convert them into a compost, into a manure system that, the farmers, we give it free to the farmers and they use it to, apply to their plants and to their crops. So these are sustainable measures and that we undertake. And they are not just only, it's not just about waste management, waste segregation. So it's now creating money from it also, and that's the circular economy we're talking about. So, and these are the pillars of sustainability. So that we're talking about when we have this conversation around climate stewardship.
Okay, thank you very much. I was going to leave this question, but I know that our time is up. But I really think that people in this room would want to hear about what you're doing for the host communities, because your legacy infrastructure program as well is a 2-in-1 question. So quickly talk about the legacy infrastructure you have to reduce reduce carbon, and what are you doing for the host communities? I wouldn't ask directly what you're doing because the PIA says 3% of that money already goes to host communities. But what are you following up? What has been done so far?
Okay, I know. Let me start from the legacy assets. We have an asset that is, the block is OML 58. It's some of you here might come from that area, from the Egi area. And we've been there for more than 60 years. We have been producing there for more than 60 years, oil and gas. And the assets, and the community around us, we have a very robust relationship with them. So I can actually talk about host community and about legacy assets. So talking about legacy assets that we're still using and trying to work with it under the new energy mindset. Recently, we launched Ubeta Project. Ubeta Project is a gas field that is in this block. And is going to produce about 350 million standard cubic feet of gas a day for the NLNG Train 7. And you can know that this quantity is reasonable, but the emissions, the carbon intensity on it is about 0.4 kg per barrel of oil equivalent. There are not many places you can see this. So in terms of emission intensity is very, very minimal. So that is what we are doing today to get energy that has low carbon, low emission. We get more energy, but with very low emissions. And in doing this, we use existing facility. We're not building a new treatment center. We're not building a new right-of-way. We're using existing right-of-way. We're sending to an existing plant. So in that way, you minimize footprints. You're not buying more land from the community. You're not using more of their farmland. So you use existing facilities. And for this place also, we are building 5 megawatts solar plant that is going to start up next month at Obite. Those of you from Obite can confirm that. 5 megawatts of solar plant that we are going to use to, mix the already turbine generated power. So in that way, you have a hybrid power with less, emissions. So, and that is part of what we're doing to be able to make sure that even though we're operating within a community, we're making sure that the impact is less. And then in terms of, you talked about 3% OPEX. So that's coming from the law. We were the first in the industry to set up 5 trusts since 2022. And 2 weeks ago, we were at Obagi, I think it was in the media, to commission 9 projects that these trusts have done. At least one of these trusts have performed. And some of the projects they commissioned are actually, linked with climate. For instance, they chose within themselves to build a LPG gas plant, because they say their people are still instead of them using firewood, they can actually go use gas. So with the money we provide them from this 3%, they build this gas plant, and the gas will be sold cheap to the community, and they will manage it. So you see, together they're getting the consciousness and the awareness of climate stewardship. And also, we are providing them today. More than 100,000 inhabitants are receiving electricity from us. Solar, we also have solar-powered water systems that is serving about 17 communities. We have, you talked about Ubeta. For every tree that was removed when they were trying to drill the well, we have done a reforestation project to replace them. So we have also a biodiversity center that's been created within the community. So there are so many things that we've done, and we do it together with them. And I told you we have 5 trusts. What is happening in this particular trust is also being replicated in the other trusts. So together, we are working together with them, with our host communities, to make sure that there is a shared, and the Prof talked about stakeholdership. So it's not about shareholders mindset now, it's about stakeholders. So we're working with them as stakeholders, as partners, and we have, I would say, a very robust relationship that is positive up to today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that is the reason why we're having TEDx Port Harcourt. Let's hear from all the stakeholders and let the information be complete. Thank you very much, Mr. Obi, for joining us at this session.
Thank you.